Welcome, everybody, to the Making Awesome Podcast, Season 3, Episode 47, or Episode 151, where I have just flat given up on our multi-streaming software. So I am streaming directly to YouTube. So hope everyone's having a good day. Sorry for being a couple of minutes late there, but after 2 or 3 minutes of trying to get the same thing to work that doesn't work, it's time to not do the same thing. So, we're going to be talking all about doing a career in 3D design. And I am not an expert in this, but I think it's really important for us to talk about it. Because we've talked a lot about making parts for people and using 3D printers to make money. But there is a lot of issues when it comes to the design side. Because if any of you have tried to learn design, it is nowhere near as upfront, and honestly, in my perspective, it's nowhere near as easy as 3D printing, especially as 3D printers are getting better and more affordable. They are basically becoming plug and play. 3D modeling software has been quite the opposite. It just seems to get harder. And while some of them have gotten better, and I know FreeCAD just came out with a new update, it's still not where the average person can pick it up and make something like that. And that is a problem, right? We want to be better at this. So instead, it requires to get some time, some effort, some energy in learning it. And it's not always something that has a very, linear learning curve. At least from my experience, a lot of these learning curves are flat walls, and you either have to dedicate a ton of time to getting reasonably proficient, or you have to decide it's time to outsource it. Yeah, not exactly certain what happened with this stream today, but I don't know. We're gonna stream directly to YouTube and hope things work out. If it sounds or looks better, let me know, because now I'm curious to see if it will. Anyways, got some awesome people here hanging out in the chat. I see Casey Wood for the super supporter. Thank you very much. Ram Online, Jesse Chapman, Robank954, Madcat USA, Rose Kindred, Duff is here, Karen Chow is here, Hiramberg, Fotis Mint, a wonderful designer. You guys should go support Fotis if you haven't. Thomas is here, Tex the Tech is here, and Tarsman is here. And Zerno for the 7 months of the basic support saying yo. Also, there's a cat that wants attention. But hey, that's all right. Designing is about more than just I'm going to make something, right? If you want to make something for yourself, that's one thing. But designing to make money is often more about turning it into a business than it is doing it for fun. Now, there are people that will successfully do it for fun, that will make decent money doing it, right? But a lot of them also have to look at how do we add some business into this, right? Why release a model when you know there's going to be a movie coming out on it in a month? You would release it in a month when it makes sense to release it, because then you'll have that hype of the movie and everything like that. But of course, we have that one problem of copyright and trademarks, and I'm not an attorney. We're not going to get into that, but do be aware that a lot of fan art is not technically okay. A lot of companies and organizations might not care about it initially, but it is technically not okay. So be warned of that. Also, don't forget to leave a like and get subscribed if you haven't. 3D modeling is a lot about understanding the art itself. Where 3D printing doesn't always have a lot of art involved in it, 3D modeling absolutely does. There is so much art and passion that goes into it, where 3D printing can often be more of just click a button and things work. And while you do have to have some knowledge of the actual design software and the 3D printing software itself, design software is way more difficult in my experience. Oh, Mr. Pfeiffer, Mr. Gregory Pfeiffer, thank you for the $5 super chat with cat. Yes, there is a cat. I don't know what she's doing. The bakery was open, but I don't know what she's doing right now. So let's talk about why you should start learning 3D design. I would say, and painting with a broad brush, that the vast majority of people that own a 3D printer have wanted to make something custom. But the vast majority of those people don't know how to do 3D design. And while you might have a buddy that can run Fusion 360, it's not the same as being able to do it yourself. It doesn't have that same freeing mentality or that same freeing feeling that you would get when you can do it yourself, right? A big part of this is having that freedom of saying, I can make this myself, right? But it's not as simple as, asking ChatGPT to make you a 3D model. It doesn't work very well. We tried this in a previous video. I would card to it if there was an option in a live stream, but there isn't. We tried it. It was bad. Don't waste your time. At least for right now, right? So you kind of have to learn the hard way. And while there are amazing tutorials online, if they're not relatively new, the UI and UX, and I'm specifically looking at you, Fusion 360, can change so much that it's not all that valuable anymore. And that value can move away from actually learning, and you spend more time searching for what you're wanting rather than what you need to be learning, right? Has anyone ever gone down that road before where you have a problem, you want to solve it, and in the process of solving it, you learn more about the problem than how to solve it in the first place? And that can be really, really frustrating. Why? I have not a shadow of a clue, but it can be really frustrating in that regard because you don't have that knowledge. And we see that that is often the problem with newbies in 3D printing, is that they have an issue, they don't know what it's called, and then they search for the wrong thing. Or maybe they ask the wrong questions. And maybe they get bad advice. And maybe they go down this rabbit hole of problems. And while, like Fotis says, that's how you learn only with practice and problem solving, you do want to make sure that you go down that right path as often as possible. And that's not always the easiest thing. I barely know Fusion 360, and I know it well enough to get most of the stuff done that I need. Every now and then, though, I run into a problem. Great example, we were working on a client project a couple of weeks ago, and I was trying to mirror some parts, right? I had a physical part, I needed to mirror it across a line. When I went to mirror the part, Fusion said, nah, man, we ain't doing it, and just said, no, we can't do it. I tried a completely separate entity. I tried another entity on the part, just a piece of it, and that mirrored just fine. But the whole thing would not mirror on its own. And so I was a little frustrated on this because I did not understand what I needed to do. What I needed to do was actually go back to the sketch, mirror the sketch, and then go redo everything from the sketch level. And that worked. Right, now that's not as simple as just grabbing a part, mirroring it so I can get it to where I need. It solved the problem. And it wasn't until I asked one of our staff members what they would do in a situation like this, because I certainly did not want to start all over again. He said, oh, dude, just go back to the sketch, mirror the sketch, and then every single one of the operations you've done since the sketch, you just have to go through and reselect those same lines and faces and things. And while that is a little tedious, it saves you from having to pound your head against the table, wondering why you can't make this work. And to be clear, I looked up, mirror not working, mirror not solving, and these did not get me to where I wanted to get. Because my problem appeared to be relatively specific to what I was working on. And, well, sometimes it's not always that way. So, 3D modeling, you have to make sure that you're following a really good tutorial. And some of these sites, I think Autodesk actually has pretty decent tutorials, but a lot of them are so old that the UI and UX has changed enough that, to me, they're outdated by the time they're posted. And those of you that have used Fusion 360 know exactly what I'm talking about. From one day to the next, it can be a completely different experience. But when we look at programs like ZBrush and some of the other ZBrush competitors like Shaper 3D, their UI and UX tends to be relatively similar. They've adopted the Blender mentality, which is we keep the UI and UX pretty much the same. And if users want to modify it, they can use add-ons for that. Those add-ons will allow you to modify things as you need, which means that tutorials that might be, 6 to 8 months old are still more than valid and valuable to those users. And I think Fotis has a great point here. He says, not only a good tutorial, but make sure that tutor is the right one for you. It doesn't always work for everybody. And that's right. You might find that somebody's methods and process is easier for you to understand than others. And that's not always the easiest thing to find out. If you find yourself struggling through a tutorial, try a different person, a different tutorial, maybe someone with a different style, because that can matter so much in the way that you absorb that information. Because again, if you want to do this for a living, or you at least want to make some side money doing it, you do need to look at it more than just a hobby when you can. I know it can be tough to do that because we don't want to just say, I'm doing this for a living now. Doing it as a hobby allows you to say, I don't want to do this anymore and walk away relatively cleanly. Doing it as a business means you kind of have to put some effort into it and go through this process. Right when we started, who said it? Was Rose Kindred. Said, this sounds like a good one for me. They're at home and disabled, so learning 3D design, hoping to start a miniature and terrain business. They don't know ZBrush, but they do use Blender and Nomad, and they had Fusion years ago. That's where a lot of people end up, right? They're either disabled at home, like I picked up learning a lot of Fusion when I was stuck and couldn't move all that much, right? Same thing with Nomad. Nomad is great because it's on an iPad, right? And I'm a big Android fanboy, but I'm sorry there are no Android tablets that will even come close to matching what Apple has done with their tablets. So you win this one, Apple. But there are so many valuable sources that can use an iPad and an Apple Pencil. And for those of you that don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a Cintiq, which is the, who the hell makes it? Wacom, which is the Wacom tablet with the screen, right? An iPad plus an Apple Pencil is a way more affordable route because it doesn't need a computer. It's portable, right? And yeah, okay, an iPad is going to cost you more than a Wacom Cintiq. It has the feature that the Wacom Cintiq doesn't. You can take it places, and it runs on a battery and has amazing battery life. And while, yes, Nomad is out on Android, as Rose Kindred says, it's not... Android's interface is nowhere near as good as Apple's. Sorry, it's just not. Apple has it set correctly. And yes, you don't need that Cintiq. You don't need that drawing tablet with the screen on it. That is the disconnect for a lot of people when they use a drawing tablet. It's not looking at what they're drawing, but looking at their computer screen. And so if you find yourself struggling with that, look at either getting a drawing tablet with a screen behind it or utilizing an app for something like an iPad. And Zerno says, screw iPads, yoga forever. That's fair. And see, this is the cool thing, as Fotis says, you can start cheap and upgrade later. That's awesome about this tech. And for me, I would buy my first graphing tablet used. There's no point in buying the latest and greatest drawing tablet when you can buy something that's used, that's had a decent life, and you don't have to pay that premium on buying something brand new. Buy it used. Check Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, whatever your, generic buy local, website thing is. Because that's where you can save a lot of money and get into this for a lot cheaper. Even an iPad you can buy used, but I mean, honestly, you could buy refurb iPads online for pretty cheap. I'd rather trust a manufacturer refurb than I would a used, but, you know, that's me. So, the part of this is not just because I have a dream of making a business, right? I think a lot of people start this design, or the path down design, I should say, because they want to make something for themselves. Then they realize, wait, if I can make it for myself, I can make it for others. Oh, we did just drop a few frames. Well, I don't know what to do about that. Sorry. When you can make something for yourself, it is a lot easier then to make it for others. When you're relying on sources like Patreon, printables, Thangs, My Mini Factory, Cults, and the others, you do have some problems where you're not making anything yourself. And while, sure, you can go join Fotis's Patreon, you can pick up the selling tier where you can sell the models, and I believe there's only specific ones that you can sell. I could be wrong on that. I haven't looked at it recently. That will limit you to what somebody else is able to design. And while, yeah, I mean, honestly, Fotis is a great place to start, it's not going to hit everything that you likely want to do. And if your competition realizes you're just downloading somebody else's models and printing them for a profit, well, now it becomes a game of who can do it the cheapest, right? When you're designing something custom yourself, you don't have to play who's the cheapest. You can design it and sell it for what it's worth to you. Not because, oh, I need to be the cheapest person on the block. You sell it at a price point that makes sense for you. And having that kind of control over the products that you're building, to me, makes way more sense than just only getting it from somebody else. I am dropping frames. I don't know why. My ping times are fine. Why am I dropping frames? That's so weird. We're gonna have to figure this out afterwards. I'll have to figure this out afterwards. Sorry, everybody. Hopefully the recordings don't get too messed up, because I use the YouTube recordings to put up to the audio only. So, I don't know. Live, of course, as we always do it. You know, that's always fun. And like Fotis says, you definitely want to start cheap, because if you do end up giving up, you don't want to be $1,000 deep into this. You want to make sure that you spend a small amount of money in the beginning, because if you find very quickly it's not for you, you don't have to care. Ask me how I know. I have a Wacom Cintiq 24 HD that I don't use, because I don't know how to use it, because I tried, and I couldn't. And I think it doesn't work anymore. If anyone wants a Cintiq 24 HD and are local to Tampa, I will make you a crazy good deal. I know it needs to be sent back for repair, but I will make you a crazy good deal to get this thing out of my house. So if you're local to Tampa or want to pay to ship this incredibly heavy monster, let me know. Give me a couple $100, you can take it. I don't use it. I tried the drawing tablet thing. Amber has a Wacom Bamboo, I think. And we got it for like $5 at an estate sale. So you can find these drawing tablets for pretty cheap. I would start with a Wacom one personally. I know there are other options out there, but Wacom to me makes some of the best. Their tips are much stronger than others, and quite frankly, they have a phenomenal third-party market out there. So, you know, there's that. And yeah, the Intuos is what our lead designer used to use when he was still our lead designer. He has now since gone off and done the regular route of having a day job and a salary. You know, who wants job security in this market? I do. I want job security. That's why we ask people to like and subscribe and share the videos and all the things that help the channel grow, that don't cost you a dime, because I am trying to make this a living. It is not yet. In fact, it is still a a money loss. But hey, whatever. This is part of a business. You have to spend money to make it. But if you can start doing it on the cheap, you can really move in the right direction. For me, a pen on a paper and then looking somewhere else did not work for me. There was a massive disconnect. My brain was just not comprehending it, and it was so frustrating because, well, it kind of made me feel like a moron, right? How can everybody else do it, but I struggle doing it? And it's just some sort of disconnect that I have between my hands and my eyes. It's like even to this day, when I type, I often start by looking at the keyboard, and then I can, just kind of type as I'm looking at the screen. I have to slowly get used to it every single time. Why? I don't know. But if you're the type of person that has to look at your keyboard, that's, maybe don't start with something without a screen. Oh, Fotis, he said you should wait until Bamboo makes a graphic tablet, Grant. I'm sure that's the one you will buy. Yeah, so for those that don't know, for my birthday this past year, Wexter's so Wexter and the Wexonians, they tend to send funny gifts to people. So they found all the things that they could on Amazon that had bamboo in it. This is, let's see if it'll focus. This is a sculpting cream. Yeah, it's not going to focus because the cat's in the way. It's a sculpting. It is a hair dressing cream, but it's BAMBU. It's bamboo. I've had this on my desk since I got it. It's actually been in a few videos as a funny set piece, but because I have a disdain for Bamboo Lab as a company. But yeah, that was funny. My birthday is in January. Actually, this year it's on a Monday, so you all get the day off because it's January 15th. And so a lot of people will play this game of what software is best. I think there's a lot of openings right now in the market for software. Blender's an amazing place to start. And in fact, with the right add-ons and stuff, Blender can be really, really, really powerful. But it's not a sculpting program at heart. ZBrush is a sculpting program at heart, but ZBrush has a couple of fundamental flaws that make it, for me, something that I won't work on. One of the big ones for me, and it's a big one in us making our own models, is that sizing is irrelevant. There is no easy way to say, I want the tail of the cat to be 3 millimeters in diameter in ZBrush. And if there is, we don't know how to get to it. And so if you're someone that is designing, let's say, a figure with known sized detail, you just can't do that. You have to do it in a different program, import it into ZBrush, and then sculpt on top of it. And that's kind of dumb to me. Now, there might be a way to do it that we haven't found, and that might be because we don't know what to search for. This is all possible. These are some of the problems that we come into play with, because there isn't always a solution because you don't know what the problem is. And it's why having that tutor of some sort, be it somebody in person, be it a one-on-one, be it YouTube videos, be it paid classes, having that matters so much. But also having someone that you can ask questions to and say, hey, am I stupid, or is this the way it's supposed to work? Because often, it's a bit of both, at least for me. Often I am stupid, but often that's also the way that it works, so. Another part of going into modeling full-time or modeling at all, is do you want to do it part-time or full-time? If you're stuck at home trying to learn it full-time, will give you the fastest path to being proficient. However, it's also the fastest path to burnout. When someone is looking at doing this full-time, right, say, I want to be a full-time 3D modeler, they can spend all this time trying to learn, but only getting frustrated. When in reality, if they took it slower, did part-time, maybe worked on 2 or 3 different programs at a time that maybe they all seem to work well, but eventually we're going to choose just one. That, to me, is a way better value than simply just choosing one thing in the beginning. It's like going to test drive cars, right? When you're shopping for cars, you want to test drive them. Unless you know the exact car you want for the exact reasons that you want and it solves that specific purpose, you might want to go drive other cars and see how they work. Well, a dealership's not going to let you take a car generally for more than overnight. So it's common that you'll call up rental car dealers in your area, see if they've got that vehicle as a rental that you can rent for a couple of days to try it and see how it works for you, right? It's this longer period of try before you buy. Not everybody does that, but I think it's good advice if you are trying to get a new car but you don't know the right one that you're looking for. You can do the same thing with a lot of these programs. Often programs will either be incredibly affordable if you did want to buy it outright, or they have a 30-day trial or a 30-day money-back guarantee where you've got some time to get to know it and it to get to know you before you decide this is the path you want to go down. It's the same thing as if we took Fotis Mint, or we took Wexter, or we took Chelsea, or Dave Makes, and put them into a completely new program that they've never used before. While they have some skills in the programs that they use, they might struggle to get started because they don't recognize how everything works. I mean, what do I know? Fotis might know everything. He could be the all-knowing. I'm only picking on Fotis because he's in the chat right now. So, yeah. It's like taking an American and telling them to go drive in the UK, or vice versa. They're gonna make a wrong turn and they're gonna end up going the wrong way down a street at least once. It happens. It's life. Just don't do it deliberately, Florida. I digress. Taking you out of your element has some value because it forces you to improvise, adapt, and overcome. But if you've gotten comfortable in one program and you know how to use it well, stick to what you know. Learn something new on the side, but stick to what you know. I know in business we say take risks, learn more, figure out more. But if you're proficient in one piece of software and you're very proficient at it, you should have no problem in selling that software, selling the parts off of that software to others. Just like if we took Fotis Mint and we put him in Fusion 360, he would probably rage quit because that's parametric modeling and does not work anywhere near the way that ZBrush works. But if you took me, someone who is not even proficient in Fusion 360, and put them in ZBrush, I would have the same complaint that I always do with ZBrush. The top menu is in alphabetical order. It is not in the common order that you expect. File is not in the top left. It is in the middle, and that upsets the hell out of me. I'm sorry. It's just something that I like. Or something that I hate. Excuse me. It's something that I hate. Oh, fine. Fotis says he started out in Fusion, so he'd be fine. It is what it is. Rose Kindred said, general question for the chat. Does anyone know of a replacement for Slicer for Fusion 360? They will not support it anymore, so I need a new program. What do you mean Slicer for Fusion 360? I'm not certain I know what that is. Sorry. Anyways. A big problem that we see in 3D design, and it's been a topic of multiple videos that we've done here on this channel, piracy. And keeping what's yours. Oh, I am dropping frames. Oh, it is. It is my ISP. Damn you, Spectrum. Dropping packets. Damn you, Spectrum. I'm watching. I've got command prompt open, pinging Google constantly. Damn you. Damn you, Spectrum. Moving on. Piracy and keeping what's yours as yours is a huge problem. And I'm not exactly certain how. There are systems out there to attempt to protect it, but they're not always perfect. Fangs is probably the one that's put the most amount of effort into this idea of maintaining copyright. And while they're not going to, send any DMCA takedowns on your behalf, they will at least alert you to other models that match yours on the market out there. And to be clear, I'm not sponsored by Thangs, but next week we will have the CEO of Thangs on the podcast. So this topic is to lead into that topic next week, where I'm going to ask some really tough questions that I hope they're ready for, because we've discussed it, and he said, you can ask me anything you want. I said, great. I have every intention of doing that. Thangs, for people that don't know, is built by a company called Fizna. Fizna is a data company, so something to know about that. And as Fotis says, once an STL is out there, it's not yours anymore. This is a fairy tale. And I am always bummed by the way that Fotis particularly looks at all of this. Fotis has had such an issue with people stealing and uploading his models to third-party websites that don't give him money, that he just doesn't bother anymore. And that hurts my soul, because these are people that are stealing, and they don't even realize that they're stealing. Okay? Think about it. This is the way that somebody makes money. By taking a model that you paid for and uploading it for free for anybody to download, you are stealing food off of their plate. And that's not okay. And if you are a digital creator, you have this problem that what are you supposed to do? A DMCA takedown request has few, if any, teeth into it, because the next step is you must go after the person legally, which costs money. And part of a DMCA takedown request is that they give the person who uploaded your material all of your personal information. You must validate that you are the owner by providing your address. And if you are someone who doesn't want their address known, you can't file a DMCA takedown request. It is a real problem. And I think we have to look at changing the way that copyrights and trademarks work when it comes to digital creation. And while, yes, fan art Fotis just gives away, puts it up on printables and all that, there is no way to protect what's yours. And that means that unless you have either a high enough price that people are not just going to come in, download all your models, and put them up on printables for free, or you've done some other system to ensure that your models don't get stolen somehow, you're kind of SOL. And it's why this idea of 3D printing with blockchain was such a big topic a couple of years ago, where they would utilize blockchain as a way to send models back and forth. That way, whomever had the model, if they transferred it, it had to be done over some sort of blockchain, therefore keeping a log of all of the transactions. This would enable tracking of who had the model, where they ended up, and why. Does that work? Clearly not, because nobody's implementing it. And it's likely because the term blockchain is a dirty word at this point, and, makes you think of crypto bros that, make hand gestures like this or like this in their thumbnails and make you just feel all kinds of icky. Take that for whatever it's worth to you. And as Fotis says, Etsy doesn't care. They made it very clear in their latest policy change a while ago. You're right. They don't care. Because for them to care is for them to say, we don't care about money. They are way more comfortable with allowing people to sell stolen goods on their platform than they are to try to solve the stolen goods problem in the first place. Me, I've got a problem with that. And it's why, as a company, we don't sell 3D models. Because I don't want to deal with this. I feel personally attacked when somebody tries to sell my work as theirs. I can't imagine how bad it would feel as a 3D modeler to watch people do this and know there's not a gosh darn thing that you can do. That sucks. And especially if you don't live in the United States, your ability to go after people drops significantly. I hate it. I really do hate it. And so for those of you that are looking to produce 3D designs professionally, I might think twice about being the artist that just gives, like, sells the models on Patreon. Because there are always going to be bad actors. And until you get a large enough fan following that will help you brigade those that are acting badly by going to those websites, making copyright claims, reporting it to the website, you are on your own. And that process from being on your own to having a fan base takes a really long time. It's not an overnight process. And that means you're often on your own. And that's why you have to kind of not care. But it's hard not to care because it's your baby, the thing you worked a ton of time on, that you spent a lot of effort on, that somebody else says, I made this, you didn't make this, screw you. It feels personal. It feels really personal. So then, how do you move forward? Those that want to create digital art, I believe, are best to partner with people that they can trust. Whether it's other content creators out there that can help them, whether it's people that do 3D printing to handle the 3D printing for them, and then they sell the models, and then you guys kind of split the profits. I think without some fundamental change, this doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And I'm not exactly certain what I can do to solve the problem. Rose Kindred says, and I think they say it perfectly, model thief. 3D printing is open source. I'm just keeping it open. Before they were removed from the Facebook group. 3D printing was founded upon open source. Or, let me rephrase that. 3D printing, as a lot of us are aware of it, was founded upon open source. In fact, 3D printing in general started with a patent by Chuck Hull. Although, arguably, there was someone in France that did it earlier. I'm not having this argument today, but yeah. 3D printing is surrounded by tens of thousands of patents. And the little bit that we as a community of FDM, which we really should be saying FFF, by the way, but as a small community with the FFF 3D printers, the resin 3D printers, that's the filament printers and resin printers, those are just the ones that don't have patents or their patents have expired. There's all this laser powder bed fusion stuff, there's binder jetting, there's crazy things involving electron beam melting, wire welders that use robot arms, concrete printers. All of this stuff is then protected. That's all patented. And unless you're, willing to pay to play, you can't play. And so those who say, oh, it was founded upon open source. It wasn't founded upon open source. 3D printing is, it was founded upon open source. And maybe that's the problem. Right? Maybe that's the problem that we've come into, is that this thought process of everything should be free means that all we do is devalue the time of others. And while I love the fact that I can build a Voron, and I'm actually printing the parts of my Voron right now, and I'm really excited, although technically not right now because the printer is not on at the moment. But, we're 2 prints deep into what would probably be 11 build plates total, to get it printed. You still have to pay money to buy the parts. You don't have to pay money to buy the files. I would love to see a system where there's like a royalty built into it, right? And this is where I think the value lands. For those that do 3D printing, and want to print custom models. So Rose, let's say you make models and then you work with a 3D printer that 3D prints them. They can pay you a percentage amount or a fixed value amount every single time they sell. Oh, sorry, I had a part in my hand that I dropped. I always tend to fidget with something in my hands because it keeps me focused more. I know I'm not the only one that does this. These are the Voron test parts to make sure that everything fits together nicely. Sorry. Anyways, I'm very nervous on live streams. I don't know if that ever comes off, but I'm always very nervous on live streams because I never know if what I'm saying is like wrong. It's right to me, but it could be wrong. And I'm always nervous about that because I never want to like effectively lie to people or have people think that I'm lying when in fact I'm just uninformed. Sorry. Yeah. Anyways. I like this idea of a royalty because it means that instead of just paying a flat fee a month, like, you know, a lot of the designers have a merchant tier where it's $40, $50, $60, $70 a month, and you could just print as much as you want. You have a system where the person prints it and then they give you money back. Now, this, of course, requires an honor system or a website that automatically pays out. That'd be kind of cool. A website where you as a designer could put up your parts, you have 3D printers that print them, and then when someone buys it, you get a percentage, the printer gets the rest, and that's it. There could be a website that could do that. And, you know, if you're looking for a business model, that might not be a bad one, where you have a way that partners printers and designers together. It sounds a little bit like 3D Hubs, but I don't think it is. People that you can trust, that you can validate, that you can show. And then when something sells, it gets routed through this website. The sale gets routed through that website, and then it pays out people accordingly. I don't know if that works, but hey, it's an idea. Not all ideas are good. I don't know how to functionally deal with this, and I don't like that. Right? I don't have a good solution. And I don't like that. I don't have a good process. And I don't like that. But I know something's missing. I know something's not right. And this has been a problem that is been held in my head since I first talked with Fotis and learned about how bad the piracy issues are. I've always had this like nagging thought of there functionally has to be a better way. Because the idea that someone just stops trying to protect their work because it's not worth it, it's not worth the effort, is upsetting to me. It shows that people's time isn't valued. And I want that fixed. This is the like social good grant that is acting here rather than the business grant, right? The social good grant wants to solve the problem. The business grant wants to solve the problem but make money doing it. I don't care if I make money doing it. I want to solve the problem. I think part of it is that we just have to teach people, but some people are always going to be jerks. So I don't know. I don't know. But there are certain sites that make piracy part of their ideology. Creality Cloud being the one to me that has the biggest problems. And that's as much as I'm going to talk about it because I really don't want to discuss something that has problems to send more people there. We've got sites that really do care. Printables has a phenomenal tool to help report people that are behaving badly. Theoretically, Thangs has one of the best systems out there. I do want to check it. I'll have to check it and see, because if I upload a Benchy, does it alert me that I'm uploading a file that's copywritten? I don't know. I'll have to try that. I'll have to test these systems to see if they work. My Mini Factory, as far as I'm aware, is pretty decent. Colts, as far as I'm aware, is pretty decent. But all of those websites require manual searching. when we work with inventors, every inventor wants a freaking patent. When in reality, most inventors cannot afford a patent. Because part of a patent is also paying lawyers to make sure that nobody is infringing on it. And see, that's what we're missing here. We have a license tool, but we don't have a way to validate that it's not being infringed. And to be clear, it's very expensive to pay an attorney to check for that stuff. It's incredibly expensive. I guess Chris Catlett is coming in late to this because he said move to 3MF including DRM. This is actually a good use for a public ledger, aka blockchain. I talked about that earlier, Chris. Were you not here and listening? But yes, 3MF is one of those awesome ways that we can move toward having better protection. STL is not the right file format, and I don't believe it is going to be a file format that is at least going to stay for a while. I know it's been around, but I think the industry itself should move more toward 3MF because it does allow those systems like that public ledger so you can see what's been going on. And while technically there are ways to, download a 3MF, save it as an STL, and there you go, you've beaten the public ledger, it at least starts thwarting a thief, right? People think that adding a deadbolt to their front door keeps a thief out. No, a deadbolt only keeps an honest thief out. Because if you're not an honest thief, you're going around to the back door to that nice sliding glass door you have, or they're going to a window, and they're going to throw a rock through it. Why? Because that's just easier than kicking a door in. And unless you have a decent home security system, and even if you do have a decent home security system, police are minutes away. Minutes away. You're at the mercy of somebody else deciding that they want to behave kindly or otherwise. It's the same deal. First Kindred decent lockpicking lawyer has entered the chat. Yeah, I feel that. So where does this leave us with piracy? I don't think that we have a good solution. Because I think the good solution is one that a lot of the industry is going to push back on because this isn't the way that it's been done. This isn't the way that we've done it. This isn't, the value that this, industry was built on. And I get that. But there just doesn't seem to be a way to stop it. And so part of me says Fotis kind of has the right idea. It is what it is. And I hate that terminology. It is what it is. Because all that is a cop-out. It is a cop-out because there is no good solution. And so why bother losing sleep over other people being jerkbags that you can't stop? Yeah. Photo says, if the music and film industry can't do a thing about it, neither can we. Reality check. Well, the one thing that the music and film industry have that the 3D modeling industry doesn't is a union, lawyers, and a lot of money. Those are three things that the 3D modeling industry just doesn't have. And it should. We should be paying more money for models. You might say, well, Grant, that doesn't seem very nice of you. I always talk about how you're too cheap. That's like a recurring topic on this podcast of how you are not charging enough for your time. And while as a 3D modeler, if you take 10 hours to make a model and then you sell it for, let's say you give it to your $20 a month Patreon. Okay. Each person then gives you $20 for that model. But you're not releasing one model a month. You're releasing like 5. So now you're spending 50 hours. You're getting $20 for those 50 hours of your time. So unless you have a lot of followers, that method doesn't work. Same goes for putting the model up on printables, cults, Thangs, My Mini Factory, whomever. You can't charge $500 for it. Nobody's going to buy it. So it has to be a volume game. So where does the volume game mix? with the non-volume game? I don't know. I don't know. I hate that I don't know. A lot of these are going to be things that I don't know, to be clear, right? I'm bringing up points and problems, and I don't necessarily have the solutions. But those of you that are out there that know we talk a lot about business on here, that are business-minded, should be putting this stuff into their heads, saying, how can we solve this? Because I want a solution. Because it pains me to see 3D modelers that just give up because they can't keep their own stuff secure because other people are acting like jerks. And so part of this is building that fan base. Whether you make terrain, you make fan art, you make whatever it is, right? Whatever it might be. You need to build that fan base. And with social media allowing you to connect so well to anywhere in the world, there is no reason that you should not be taking advantage of that opportunity. Websites like Instagram and TikTok, as much as I hate TikTok, allow you to reach such a broad audience to not only show you doing the sculpt, but then show you do the print and show you what it looks like. Now, the cool thing about certain programs, Blender probably being one of the better ones, is that you can render out photorealistic parts that look like they've been 3D printed. So you can kind of cheat. And I know that some designers do that because printing your own models can be a bit of a pain in the butt. But even Fotis has recognized that Fotis is a really good designer. He's not the best at creating custom support material for resin 3D printing, so he works with the one, the only Idle Hams, otherwise known as Charo Zuck, who makes amazing support. That's his shtick. That's all Charo makes amazing supports. That is his deal. And the two of them work together. Because Fotis realizes if he's going to do this as a business, he needs to do what he does best. And that's the same for you as well. Do what you do best and partner with those that do something better than you do. If you are struggling to take the right photos, if you're struggling to, make custom supports, if you're struggling to provide 3MF files with custom painted colors and all of that for your people and for your fans, partner with people that know how to do it, that are willing to take a cut. Maybe they'll take the models for free and that's how they get paid. But you build a business relationship with others to support you where you are deficient. Because if you're the kind of person that tries to do everything and you try to be good at it, you're going to do everything and you're going to suck at all of it. You have to remember that you're one person. And if you're going to specialize in 3D modeling, you need to make sure that you have others to support you where you are not immediately specializing. And while you might be able to, like I did, like I have enough proficiency inside of Fusion 360 to survive, it is not enough to run the business. It is enough that when I need to make a quick change and a staff member isn't available for some reason, or they can't get it done in the time frame that I need it done in, I can just quickly whip up Fusion and do it myself. Now, is that the best move for the business? I don't know. But it's the move that I've always taken. You have to not only invest in yourself, but you have to invest in others. And partnering with those right people or building those, and I'm going to use the term because partnership, when you partner with somebody, okay, that generally defines a business relationship. We would call this a strategic alliance, would be the technical way to call this, right? That's, you're working together, but there really isn't a business relationship, if that makes sense. That strategic alliance is something that people build to work together, where you all are working on a common goal. You have to do that. It's pretty much the only way that you're going to avoid burnout. Because if you don't, you're going to burn out fast, and it's not going to be fun. Oh, Photo said exactly what I was saying. When you invest, you have to invest money after a while. Doing everything yourself is guaranteed path to burnout, and I've been there already. Even not doing everything yourself is a guaranteed path to burnout. Welcome to the world of making, where we don't ever take time to stop. As someone that doesn't take time to stop, I put out so many freaking videos a week. And I say me, right? It's not just me. We have an editor who is now also the copywriter, because our copywriter, as a lot of you know, has left to go pursue a PhD. It's amazing. I'm so happy for her. But we have a team of people that help us. Okay? So if I ever say me, I often mean we. And that's something that I still need to work on as a business owner, is better communicating that skill, that it is not just me, it's a we. Anyways, with all the content that we produce here, I get burned out. I still haven't filmed Wednesday's video. I normally have Wednesday's video filmed by now. I haven't done it. And in fact, I don't even know what I'm going to make it on, because I am so busy doing everything else that we have in this business that I'm just in a constant state of barely defeating burnout. It is really, really difficult. And for those of you that have experienced hard burnout as a maker, you really just want to say, F it, I'm done. You want to flip the table like you're playing Monopoly with the family, right? You're done. And you have to step away. But because our brains constantly want us to make stuff, we move from one project to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, without ever giving ourselves the adequate time to, well, enjoy it, relax. Because we have set expectations for ourselves, and algorithms have set expectations for us. When we miss weekends for podcasts, whether it's because I'm traveling or I'm simply not up to it, we see our metrics tank on YouTube. In fact, we were on path in January, February to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. In fact, I talked about that being our goal. We are at 35,000 subscribers, and it's the middle of August. We're not gonna, like, statistically speaking, if we don't have another massive growth trend, it's not going to happen. That growth trend immediately stopped the weekend of Rocky Mountain Rep Rap Festival, when I did not do my podcast. And I still kick myself for not doing my podcast, because maybe we would still be on that path to 100K. And so I burned myself out by constantly trying to do this thing. And I know a lot of you do the same thing, right? We tend to be schedule-based. We need to release this many models a month. We have to work this hard all the time. There are systems in place that we have to do. And if we don't do them, we kind of get mad at ourselves, which, by the way, not healthy. But as someone that does it, I know it's not healthy. I just am working on better skills. But it's when your fans don't get what they're expecting that they tend to get upset. Patreon allows designers to take months off, right? You can pause billing for that month. That pause can often have such a financial impact that designers would rather continue to burn themselves out than risk losing a vast majority of their followers. Like, it's why other systems are existing right now. And Patreon in general is just not in my my happy book right now. They're on the naughty list, and not for the right reasons, if you feel me. It's stressful. And I will tell you that if you want to get into a career of doing this, I recommend that you do 3D modeling so that you can also do 3D printing. Or you work with someone that can do the 3D printing for you. Because giving away models for even $20 a month, if you don't have a few hundred people, right? Is that good? Yeah, if you don't have a few hundred people that are supporting you at $20 a month or $10 a month, you can't survive. I was talking with Amber's brother. He was talking about his rent. He lives in an okay area, and he pays close to $2,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. There's nothing cheaper around him. He's in one of the cheapest places to live. That sucks. And that means if he was to get into 3D modeling full time, $2,000 barely pays his rent, let alone anything else. Oh, hey, Thomas just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. So Hierenberg got one. Duff got one. Duff always gets these memberships. I think Duff has now gotten 3 or 4 of them. John Bigelow, Ronald DHS, and Charlie Stop all got gifted memberships. So thank you, Thomas. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you. So when you're trying to do this full time, you have to very much look at what matters. You can't just immediately flip over to it full time unless you have money for a runway. Because without that money for a runway, you're going to run out of runway very quickly. It's why we always say that part-time is often the better method here. It sucks because you got to have another day job. You got to, work on this in your spare time. And if you don't have any time, you don't have any time. But it's the only way that's reasonably safe. And yes, a lot of business owners will often say, we're going to throw caution to the wind. F it. We're just going to send it. I get that. I do. But it's tough to juggle not only a day job, but to also juggle trying to build your own business. Foda said that he was having a day job at the same time for 3 years before he went full-time. He literally didn't sleep for 3 years. It's hard. It is. It's really hard. Hell, it's hard to even just do it full-time. Because when it's full-time, you've got a lot more going on than you had previously. Sorry, something stuck in my teeth. I had to get it out. So, what does that mean? It means that, well, if you're going to go into business for yourself, it's not going to be easy. It means if you want to do this professionally, it's not going to be easy. It means that you have to really learn to walk and crawl before you can run. And it means you're going to try, you're going to fail, and you're going to have to decide if you want to keep trying and learning. Don't go all in immediately. It's incredibly common for us as makers to just go all in and say, this is what we want to do. We're going to do this. We're going to do all of it. And we're going to make millions of dollars doing it. And chances are you're going to do none of that. That's not good. And that means you're not going to stand up to your own, expectations. My business mentor tells me you have to set bigger goals. He told me to set the goal of 100,000 subscribers. And I know statistically we're not going to get there. But he said that doesn't matter. You still push for it. I said, but if I know I'm not going to statistically get for it, why wouldn't I set a lower goal, one that I know that we can achieve? Because I would rather hit a goal that we can achieve rather than miss it completely and say, well, that sucks. I didn't get there. He said, well, if you can see that statistically you're not going to get there, then you must change what you're doing to change the statistics. He said, that's why you set lofty goals. You set lofty goals so you have something to work for, not something that you can predictably hit. If it's something that you can predictably hit, why bother setting the goal? So yeah, well, I do want to hit 100,000 by the end of the year. It's not going to be easy, but I'm still going to work for it. You guys are going to see content changing. I want to start pushing more project videos. And it means that I can't do a project video every week. Nobody does. So we're going to start changing the way that we make content. Is the algorithm going to like that? Probably not. But I hope that over time we can get to a point where it matters. Because if I do want to do this full time, I also have to enjoy it. And sometimes I do need a really easy video. Sometimes I want to do a more interesting video. And other times, I don't want to do a video at all. But I have to. Raymond Shally says, true success is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. I might disagree with that. But I only disagree with it on the merit that I think there's way more planning and success. Some people do get lucky. And you might be. You might be lucky. But Daft Punk said it. You got to be up all night to get lucky. Sometimes you do. Don't be afraid to put in the hours that you need. But you gotta know when it's not working out. And don't be afraid to try different programs. Remember, just because it took someone X amount of time doesn't mean that you're going to get it done that fast. Just because it was this easy for you doesn't mean it's going to be this easy for somebody else. And just because this person on the YouTube channel that's teaching you how to do it knows how to do this one thing that you don't, doesn't make you stupid. You need to understand that setting reachable goals in the beginning is important. But when you've been doing it for a while, set those lofty goals and work toward it. But, and this is part of what also kind of pushed this for me, I have way too much on my plate. And I know I'm not the only one that does this. Okay. My business mentor, Scott, I don't know if you're watching. You sent me a text telling me to have a good show. So I presume maybe you're watching. I don't know. But he gave me this this analogy. It's a funnel. Okay, it's a funnel. And each thing you have to do is a ball. Only one ball can fit through the funnel at a time. But you can pack that funnel with balls. Well, eventually you can only pack so much until things start to overflow. The problem is those things that overflow might be important. So you need to step back, write down everything that it is you need to get done, and start stack ranking of what is actually urgent. Because if everything is urgent, nothing is urgent. And it's something that I struggle with because I have all of these things that are urgent. And I don't have the time, and I often don't have the skill. And even further, I don't have the body. My back causes me to fail in so many things where I used to succeed. But it means that I overextend myself. And that's not good. I know I'm not the only one that does it, so I want to share that with you guys. I am taking some time this coming week. Like, I've booked 8 hours this week in my calendar that all I'm going to be doing is writing down every single thing that I have to do. I am over 2 pages already, for reference. Every single thing that I have to do, it is over 2 pages, single space lines. Okay. I have a lot of things on my plate. But it means I have to look at it and say what matters and what doesn't. I have a goal of getting the Politician ready for the East Coast Rap Festival. And most likely, it's not going to be done. I would rather have merch ready by East Coast Rap Festival than I would have the Politician. So that to me is more valuable. Why? Because I can sell merch at East Coast Rap Festival, and I can give away some merch that I've wanted to give to people for a while. And that's a cool time for us to launch something. The Politician, I need to have it done really before winter gives a death grip to the north. We don't really have a winter here in Florida, but I need to have that done. But a lot of that is also waiting for vendors. So I have to look at what is immediately needed on my schedule right now. Something to know. Smallzy says, I bought my first 3D printer, an Elegoo 4 Pro. I would really like to make some side money with it, but being brand new, I don't know where to start. Help. Well, we've done a lot of videos on this, like how to make money with your 3D printer. But before you start even trying to make money with it, you need to be proficient enough that you can do it effectively in your sleep. Because if you are still struggling to learn the machine and struggling to keep it running and struggling to get perfect prints out of it, then all of those things will come to bite you right when you need to get a client part done. So I might start with doing parts for friends and family just to see how it goes. Try to do some custom parts for yourself and try to print off parts that can help you. However, don't jump, head first into a pond without knowing how deep it is. And if you're not ready to take that plunge, it's okay to take some time. Thankfully, 3D printing is not very expensive. Elegoo Neptune 4 Pro is what? $400? Filament's what? $20 a kilo? You can spend $100 on filament and get so much more value in learning as you go through that $100 in filament than you would by just sending it and hoping that you don't create chaos in the meantime. But this is the same way with 3D modeling as well. You don't just want to buy the Wacom Cintiq and buy a lifetime, or you can't do that anymore, buy a subscription to ZBrush. Screw you, Maxon. You want to start small. You want to learn. You don't want to spend $2,000 or $3,000. Start slow, because if you do need to give up on it, you don't want to end up paying the premium to give up. Chris Travis says, at work, we use this method called leader standard work to help with day-to-day operations and keep everything on track. I have never heard that before, Chris, and I would love for you to describe that a little bit more in the chat, because that would be really good. And Justin Miller says the first rule is read. I assume he was putting an E at the end of that. Read. There is so much good information out there, not only on how to run your printers well or how to do 3D modeling well, but also what to do if something goes wrong. And as Fixin' Dude says, Nomad Sculpt is a great way to try out sculpting for just $15. It is. And in fact, I think Amber has been messing around with it. She stole my 7th gen iPad that we have and has been using it for drawing and sculpting and all that because she wants to try it out. She's going to go slow. She's going to go at her own pace. And frankly, I'm not going to bother her. I'm proud that she's picking that stuff up. I've wanted to, and I never did. Because on my list of things to do, learning how to 3D sculpt is nowhere near the top. Because it doesn't benefit me directly. It's something that I can do that's cool, but it doesn't immediately help me directly. And even Voda says, I agree with Fixum Dude, if you have an iPad. He has it for when he travels on the plane, and it's legit. Limited for a pro, but a good starting point. That's totally true. I think the big thing with Nomad is like you can't do like custom alpha brushes and all that, so that is a bit complicated when it comes to doing it professionally. But you can get so far. I think I forget Brit's actual title. Fotis has, I don't want to say it's an assistant because I don't want to potentially improperly give Brit the job title, but Fotis has a coworker. Her name is Brit. You all would know her as Creatrix Brit. And I believe she is using Nomad as part of her sculpting journey. And it's really cool to see that process. Art director. Thank you. She is Fotis's art director. And, you might need an art director too. An art director can help keep you focused, can help you better align things with where they matter. Get a group of people that can help you remain accountable if you need it. That group can be the group that you lean on when you need help. There are awesome communities out there. Fotis has a great community. Wexter has a great community. We have a great community. All of them are locked behind paywalls, I believe, which is fine. There's no reason it shouldn't be. I believe it should be behind a paywall, personally. Having those people that can keep you in line is potentially more valuable than you think. Whether that's a family member, whether it's a loved one, whether it's, it's just, you got to have that person. Some of us, it's our significant others. For others, it's a community. For some of us, it's both. Some of us, it's neither. But if you're not the self-starter type and you're not the self-motivator type, I recommend that you get into a community of people. Be wary of the toxic communities. They are easy to find, and they are echo chambers of toxicity. You don't want to be in them. You want to find communities where you can connect with the right people. Build those fan bases. And maybe, just maybe, you can get it right. So what should you know? The main thing that you should know is it's way harder than it looks. You shouldn't be afraid. You should start slow. And maybe stick to part-time for now. There are great places to go. There are bad places to go. And, well, selling models initially might not be the best business move. However, your path to greatness will be, well, plowed whatever way you want. So do it. Get started. There is a lot of opportunity out there. There is a ton of need in the market. And especially if you go after a niche that isn't full, a blue ocean, if you will, with as little to few islands as possible, you have the ability to build that side of it rather than just dragging on a coattail of somebody else. I think we're going to call it. We've done a good, hour 15, 75 minutes? That ain't bad. It's not bad. I appreciate you all coming out. Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week. We're going to be interviewing the CEO of Thangs, so come on out and hang out. Oh, Smallsy says the Patreon is the print of the month slots. They open very often. They don't, and in fact, I'm killing that tier. That is part of something that I don't have time for. And you might say, oh, it's only 5 people, but it's a lot of work. Anyways, stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Episode 151. Take care.